not welding caps. For everybody's information, if you want to look like a fool on a job site, wear a ball cap as a welding cap, or even worse, wear a ball cap under a hard hat. One thing to touch on hard hats, most people don't realize, the excuse you'll hear all the time, it's too hot. The coolest hat you will wear on a job site is a hard hat, because your head is in the shade and air circulates around it the whole time. You will see my videos, I have a welder's cap on under it, only because this hard hat's a little uncomfortable. I have another one, if I'm just wearing a hard hat that I wear, I'll have it out in class next time. I'll brought one of my hard hats home. And then I don't wear anything under it, just because it's cooler, okay? Now, what I'm gonna do here is, I'm gonna have Abby come up here first. All right, like I said, Abby's one of our returning students. You have your welding hood too? All right, and Abby is wearing an FR cotton welding jacket. She has a set of leather sleeves she's wearing over it. You have a welder's cap, all right? She has her safety glasses, and her hood is the Cobalt from Lowe's, right? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Hers is the one from Lowe's. Can you tell us anything about it?
You have to order the replacement face shield of this. So,
I think if you check Home Depot and Tractor Supply, that these lenses are the same. You have to check that. But yeah. What Abby has here, this is an auto dark welding hood. And what that means is the light from the arc is going to get to here before it gets to her eyes. And there's 2 sensors. She has 4 sensors on here that are going to pick up, sense that arc, and they're going to darken this lens. They're going to take it from basically sunglasses to welding hood in whatever time she has set for it, but probably somewhere about 1/1000th of a second. All right? And she can control whether it gets really, really dark or not so really dark, depending on how powerful the arc is.
and this one has an outside knob.
For the darkness?
For the darkness. Hers, you can, this is something I like. You can change how dark it gets, the settings, and you can turn the hood on without taking the hood off. You just reach up here and adjust the knob. Because like when you go to grind something with it, if you don't put this in grind mode, which is basically turning the auto dark off, it will go dark from the grind. Right? And it'll make you nuts because then you can't see what you're doing and drive you crazy. Hers is nice because you can do that without taking the hood off. All right?
Well, one of the things that I find with this hood is that I have a very medium-sized neck, so I can't use one of these hoods because
The hood hits you right here and pushes up. What'll happen is when you try to look down, it pushes the hood up off your head. And with my lens, it actually pushes the lens out of your field of view. All right? So yeah, if you're smaller like Abby, that makes a good choice because it does. But on the other side of the coin, with me, if I try to use Abby's hood, it doesn't come, it ends right about here on me because of my ginormous head. And my neck gets burnt. Is there anything you don't like about that hood?
I like being with a purple flash.
Is there anything that you don't like about the PPE that you currently use? Not really.
Not really.
I know one piece of PPE that Abby used to like to borrow.
Oh, come on.
Is, no, seriously, this is something you can get, and these are boot covers. And Abby would forget her boots. And one of the things that she was working on produces a lot of little tiny sparks that go into your boots.
I did not forget my
You
boots.
did not forget your boots. But you can get these, they're a little leather boot. The reason I have them is when I have to weld in rubber boots because it's raining, it's wet, it's muddy, and I just don't want to get my other boots all wet. All right? But what Abby has is a really good set. Now, Abby's been at this for 4 years and is currently at ACC welding. All right, Joey?
Okay, so I just have basically the same as Abby, just mine is leather. My hood, again, it's another auto dark. One of the differences that I prefer about Abby's hood versus mine is mine, you have to pick the hood up, possibly take it off, in order to change it, because if you look in here, you can see the mode button. Yeah, that's what you use to turn it to grind. Mine has 4 settings though. Mine does weld, grind, X mode, and cutting. Mine also, the darkness setting is all in here and everything.
And the only thing I don't like about that hood is having to, most of the time you end up having to take it off to set things.
Yeah.
Right?
And I like this headgear and everything in the hood. I would not recommend using this type of headgear for very long lengths of time because it does get uncomfortable.
There's no really comfortable headgear for long periods of time, right? Your headgear is kind of similar. All right. When Joey talks about this lens does have 4 settings. All right. Like he said, he can set it for grind, which is just an open, it's a number 3 like sunglasses. He can set it for cut, which is 4, 5, or 6, whether he's using an acetylene torch or a plasma cutter, and it will lock in on that. And then there's a weld mode, and he can set it on that weld mode, and it'll go from 8 to 13 in darkness, 9 to 13 in darkness, and it will automatically darkening. And like I said before, all that is the lens. His lens has 4 sensors as well. It'll sense the arc, and it'll go dark on it. All right. Now Joey's, when he talks about X mode, this hood actually has 1 extra element in it. It does not have to see the hood, the arc, to stay dark.
That I also.
Yeah, my hood, this hood here that I use in the field, it's an auto darkening lens in a regular welding hood. This is one you can buy to put in. Just a heads up, the $20 ones are not worth it, and the ones that are worth it are $100. All right. This is a Technoweld. This is actually a $50 one. This one is actually working out really well. It only has 1 setting. Right? Mine is a number 11, and you can usually find in 9, 10s, 11s, and 12s. Right? It only has 2 arc sensors. My hood that's down there in the truck has the Miller lens in it, and usually half of 1 sensor ends up covered up. Right? But Joey's hood, when you're welding, any electricity passing, creating resistance, creates a magnetic field that can be sensed. Right? That's how arc timers work. A different topic altogether. Joey's welding hood can sense that magnetic field from 3 feet away. So if Joey was standing here on this side of a big piece of pipe, but he's got the TIG torch on this side and he's feeding wider through the 1/8-inch gap in the pipe to lay it in and weld across it. By the way, this is something you can end up doing as a welder and get paid a lot of money to do, right? The problem with my hood or Abby's hood is they'll blink on and off, right? Because the sensors can't see the arc, but you dang sure can every time it blinks on, right? Joey's hood would sense that. He can't physically strike an arc far enough away that his hood wouldn't know it was there. What do you use for gloves?
So I actually have 3 sets of gloves. I have the same ones that my dad normally uses, the big J's, right here. They're all beat up because I was using rods that throw a lot of sparks. I also use these 2 gloves. These are actually my grandfather's old pair. But yeah.
The only real difference is these is the type of leather they're
Yeah.
made out of. These are much more expensive than these.
I
Right.
prefer these better. They're a lot like cooler and like heat and stuff.
Abby?
Mine's the cobalt silver hair. I've had these for years.
Yeah, these are the softer leather on the front and the back. They have a reinforced knuckle, and they have a really heavy-duty cuff to them. All right? If you're going to buy gloves, try to buy the long cuff ones, but if you're just buying cotton work gloves, that's not always an option. All right? What boots do you wear?
Okay, so I wear these boots. These are a pair that my dad bought that ended up not fitting him, but they fit me. These are Red Wings. They're steel-toed. Yes, I don't use the laces that Dad uses because I didn't come around to putting them in.
You like them?
Basically it. Yeah, I do like them.
They're king toes from Red Wing. They're a very high-end boot. They're a very nice boot. I had high hopes for them. They didn't fit me. Abby?
Mine are regular Western boots. no laces.
They're a good choice.
They're a good choice.
All right.
But the rubber soles tend to.
The rubber soles are they're gonna get chewed up by sparks no matter what. Slip-on boots, that's what you see most welders welding in. All right. All of the talk of the town in Fairbanks during the construction of the Alaskan pipeline was you couldn't keep cowboy boots in town because almost all the welders were out of Oklahoma and they bought them up as fast as they could get them in stock. Joey used to weld all the time, and Joey is a roper. He competes in rodeo sports. He wore cowboy boots all the time. The only downside with his versus Abby is his have leather soles. They're very slick. All right. He wears lace-ups. I wear lace-ups. Steel toes, not necessary for what we're doing. It's not a bad idea. I can tell you most industries today are going to require them. My company doesn't require them because they have to pay for them. All right? And I'm actually glad of that because I have been looking for a pair of steel toe boots that I could wear comfortably all the time for decades. And I have had no luck. Multiple brands, high-end, low-end, expensive ones, cheap ones. They're either the toes too deep and I can't, some of my toes are in the thing, and so it's rubbing on my foot. All right? Thank you, both of you, very much.
One thing for the girls to have and guys that have long hair, I like to put a bandana like right here, covering this little part, because you're always going to have these little hairs that stick out. It's inevitable, but that's what I like to do.
Yeah. Yes, bandanas are always a good idea. Yes, ma'am.
I have a silly question, I guess.
No
what
such
about,
thing.
what about hairspray, hair mousse, that sort of stuff?
I would avoid that like
That
the
stuff is
plague.
terrible.
Do not shellac your hair.
Yeah.
Right? But for most people that don't know, hairspray is basically varnish propelled by propane. Right? On a weird side note, they used to use Freon in propane cylinders, and there was actually a disease called hairdresser's disease. And it usually came in the first time it got cold enough for the hair salon to turn the heaters on, because spraying all that hairspray in the air would cause the Freon to collect on the heating elements. And when the first time they turned the heating elements on, it would heat the Freon up, turn it into a gas called phosgene. Does anybody recognize phosgene gas? No World War I buffs here? Phosgene gas was a weapon in the First World War. All right? It will kill you, and it will hurt the whole time you are dying. Okay? So that's why they switched to propane. So they used to teach it early in my years in the fire service and Boy Scouts is, you know, there used to be a film footage out there of a woman trying to smoke a cigarette, put her hairspray on at the same time, and you get the quick blowtorch of that thing. Right? So no, I would not recommend anything like that in your hair. Not an issue with me. Yeah. Sebastian, don't you usually tie a bandana around your neck sometimes in the front?
I will occasionally, yes.
Yeah.
Because my neck is in between of y'all's. So.
Yeah. If you have a longish neck, tying a bandana around will keep the sparks and the UV light from burning your neck. I like to use them as a scarf in the wintertime to help keep me warm. And even OSHA recognizes a bandana as dust protection. In fact, as the cheap paper dust mask and a bandana, you get the exact same protection from them. Even under OSHA regulations. So bandanas are acceptable. But don't take it off at lunch and then put it back on backwards, the opposite direction. Always make sure you put it on the same way every time. All right?
I got a question that
Yes.
maybe.
No such thing. Go ahead.
So I do a little bit of welding here and there. I'm just a dirt dogger. I mean, but the problem that I always have is somehow when I'm welding, the inside of the mask lights up and I have trouble seeing through the lens.
I will bet you have an auto dark lens that's not darkening.
Oh no, it's darkening.
It is darkening, but you're still getting a lot of light in there?
I'm getting the light from behind.
From behind, oh, okay. That can be an issue. There's a couple of ways that you can do that. If, you know, like with these hoods are very big compared with like Joey's or Abby's. These ones are a lot narrower, all right? Sometimes that helps. One of the things that I actually used to do, because one of the problems you can have too is when you're welding outside, The sunlight coming from behind, all you can see is your own reflection
Yeah.
in the lens. That's why you see a lot of pipe liners wear one they call a pancake mask. And I have a homemade one that I use for confined space. But if you'll take a bandana and put a piece of tape at the top and two pieces of tape on the side and lay it over the back like that while you're welding, that'll block some of that out. And if you bring a bandana and your hood out, I'll show you how to rig that up.
Okay.
No, I don't have that hood with me, but I actually have a hood that has 3 tape stains on it from years of taping bandanas to it when I'm in the field.
Okay.
All right? Now, when I talk about welding hoods, for the parents, if you're going to buy the kids a welding hood, absolutely feel free to message Heather. She'll get a hold of me, and we'll talk about it. All right? Tractor Supply recently had a lot of hoods like Abby's and down from there on clearance from anywhere from 40 to 30 bucks. And they were cheap, and they were auto dark hoods. I really recommend the auto dark hoods for the kids when they start out because they can put the hood down, and they can see everything, then they start the arc, it gets dark, and they can still see everything. One of the classic problems Joey had in the beginning is he would strike the arc and be 2 inches away from where he wanted to weld, and then he's wandering around trying to find where that line is I drew or the groove is that he's trying to weld on. All right? And it takes some getting used to being able to see where you are when you weld. Okay? The next step up is these gold lenses. These used to be incredibly expensive. They're not right now. These are easier to see through in bright light conditions. This is a hood that I use at home and I'm using it outside a lot. So I like these kind of lenses because I have a little more, the sunlight doesn't bother me as much. My regular job every day, and I don't have one of those hoods with me, has a fixed dark, the standard just basic lens that the hood comes with. All right, and those are fine too. Each one is cheaper and more expensive depending on what you get. But feel absolutely free to question me as much as you want. You're not bothering me. I don't want you to buy a hood that your kid doesn't like to use or that end up not working out, because hoods run the gauntlet from being 50 bucks to $400. All right, and there are hoods even more expensive than that. There are hoods with air conditioning and filtering systems. Okay, and then you're talking the price. I've bought a lot of good used cars for way less money than that welding hood costs. All right, so just to give you a heads up, I don't mind talking about, and that goes for any piece of equipment you're considering for your kids. All right, but remind me a lot that they're not supposed to know about it, just in case. All right, so now when you talk about those hoods, there's one thing I don't like. This hood is an auto dark, and it's a really nice hood, but there's no way to turn the auto dark off. You can't do it. So if you're using this hood and you try to run a grinder, it goes dark. You can't see what you're doing. All right? So I don't like that. This one is the same way. This is a fixed lens hood, all right? And I just happen to have an auto dark lens. In fact, I think that's a Miller in there. And so this makes a good hood for the kids. They can't run a grinder with it, not with a grinding wheel. Wire brush, you're fine. Grinding wheel, it won't work. All right? And that's why I prefer these hoods. You do have to modify them. You have to open this up to get the lens in there. But I like these. If you're going to go with a fixed lens, you want a hood that opens. Because I can flip this up out of my way and my face is still protected when I'm chipping a weld or when I'm running my grinder. All right? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay? So just something I wanted to touch on. I have a lot of welding hoods, and they vary from ones like this to ones like this and ones like this. And I have a lot of different head sizes, and I try to have all kinds of different things. I have too many different brands, and I'm trying to narrow them down. One thing real quick, the headgear is designed to stop at a certain point, so it holds it on your face and doesn't continue down. If you pick one of the hoods up, please don't try to force it. If it doesn't go easily, come ask questions. I did get a headgear broken on an expensive hood, and it was nobody's real fault, but it did happen. And I think what they tried to do is they tried to force it around in a full circle. All right? They just made an honest mistake. Okay? And by the way, if a piece of equipment stops working, say something so I don't think it's out of oil or there's something wrong with it because it just ran out of gasoline. That was probably an accident, but you were the last one running the machine.
It's like, son, this is not what.
Yeah.
You go up to it,
Right.
put oil in
And
it.
it didn't click with me that it wasn't turned off, and it stopped working, so you stopped welding. All right? Any questions on that kind of equipment? Did we beat that one to death? All right? But any questions on it? Like I said, feel free to ask a lot of questions, yes.
Are you going to give away?
I will the next time we take a break.